This thing is fun.
Ginger Runner.
What is up, everybody? Ethan Newberry, the Ginger Runner, here for another Ginger Runner review. I hope you have been well. You've been getting outside, training. The smoke here in the Pacific Northwest has shifted a bit. We actually have some rain and some cooler weather on the way, which is great. We can finally get back outside, which brings us right back to more reviews. We are back to testing, baby, and today is no different. We are going to be reviewing a brand new shoe from New Balance. It is the FuelCell RC Elite. Yeah. Of course, as always, before we dive into the review, I have to point out that this shoe was provided for review by Running Warehouse. They're great because I get to say whatever the hell I want about a shoe or product or anything. Today is no different, so let's dive in. When it comes to carbon-plated shoes, the market has absolutely exploded in the last year. Saucony Endorphin, Asics Metaracer, Brooks Hyperion Elite and Elite 2, the list goes on. It seems that every major shoe manufacturer has had to come out swinging with their carbon-plated footwear that not only pushes the tech and innovates, but also manages to capture a bit of the market's attention. The New Balance FuelCell RC Elite does manage to take a few good swings at the market, bringing some fun new features, innovations, technologies, and materials, while staying true to the fuel cell roots, which in my opinion is a good thing, because if you're familiar with some of my recent reviews, I've really enjoyed what New Balance has been doing with the fuel cell. This is no exception. With a 10mm drop, the FuelCell RC Elite is a soft foamed, carbon-plated long-distance racer designed for those who want the snappiness of a plate while maintaining the plushness of a cushion. The new FuelCell midsole is incredibly cushioned and resilient, topped by a synthetic, breathable upper and simple lacing system. The Dynaride outsole system gives these road racers some serious grip with sharp-edged triangles. This is a fun alternative to a lot of road outsoles that we've been seeing lately that lack a lot of all-season grip. So despite a lot of days away from road running as of recent because of the smoke conditions and hazardous air quality, I have managed to meet my prerequisite of 50 miles in this road shoe. I'm actually closer to 61, so I can now report back to you. Does the RC Elite snap me into falling in love with it? Or is it just another shoe with plate tech saturating an already saturated plate tech market? Let's find out in today's review, where I like to talk about all the things that I like and dislike about a product, starting, as always, with things that I like. The cushion. This fuel cell that they're using as the midsole is fantastic. I've talked about fuel cell in the past. This new recipe, if they're doing something different here, it does give you that bounce, that squishiness, that cushion that you come to expect out of the fuel cell shoes from New Balance, but it does something really unique here with that carbon plate as well. So you're not getting a really harsh ride, something focused primarily on elite racers or people that run at a certain cadence or speed. It's adaptive to a lot of different body shapes, weights, myself included. So I don't feel like I'm alienated by a shoe. It actually feels pretty comfortable, snappy, and an absolute blast to run in. It's super reminiscent of the Saucony Endorphin Speed that I reviewed recently. That kind of is this bridge between a harsh carbon-plated shoe that maybe is really stiff and a difficult run for many, and a non-plated shoe that's very cushioned or can be much more supple. It's this great balance of both. Nice and snappy with the carbon plate, but really squishy and fun with the fuel cell. Also want to point out that the 10mm drop I was a bit leery of before testing the shoe, but I promise you, it does not necessarily feel like a 10mm drop. It's much closer to a 4 to 5mm drop. The outsole. So this is kind of one of those cool new innovations that New Balance has incorporated into their plated shoe that does make it stand out amongst others. And that is this really super unique Dynaride outsole. It essentially is a hard plastic shell coated in these tiny little black rubber triangles. It's super unique in the fact that it actually gives you grip in a road shoe. Who'd have thought. I was a little skeptical at first that all of these little black triangles are essentially glued or attached to this harder outsole plate. I was worried that they were going to break down or break off, but honestly, with even some gravel running mixed in there, it's holding up really well in the sense that those rubber pods have not fallen off, they haven't torn off, they haven't even worn down that much. And when you're spending a lot of time here through the midfoot and the forefoot, having a little bit of grip, especially on wet surfaces, this is a great all-season shoe. We don't get to say that very often, that a shoe works throughout the seasons. This one does. And finally, weight, or lack thereof. 8 ounces in my size 11, is extremely light for what you get. A nice big stack of foam, a nice light breathable upper, bit of outsole rubber and some grip. It's really great to have a shoe like this weigh so little because it is such a good racing shoe for long distances, anything from a half to a full marathon. Provides you with plenty of midsole comfort for even some of those training days. It does cover a lot of your bases in a package that isn't going to weigh your feet down. That's a great thing. But it is not all snack size Snicker bars and pumpkin pie. There are a couple of things that I dislike about the FuelCell RC Elite. Let's get to those now. Price. It's $225. $225, $225, $225, $225. Yeah, that's a lot of money. The shape and the size. So I'm kind of combining these because they do influence one another. You'll notice that the shape of the FuelCell RC Elite is very similar to a lot of the FuelCell lineup. A lot of extra cushioning midsole material here on the lateral side of the foot, very little on the medial side. So you're going to lack a little bit of stability here through the inner foot, which for some, not going to be an issue, especially in a shoe where you're basically spending most of your time from midfoot up. But it is weird. It is weird to get used to. It's weird to look at. And it is a strange sensation to lack so much on the medial side, especially with an upper that is a bit narrower and a bit more medial side friendly. So your big toe is going to fit in there just fine, but your other toes are going to be a little bit squished on the lateral side. It's a really interesting dynamic that when you get a pair of these shoes on, you look down, you run, it's a little off balance. I'd honestly prefer a little less on the lateral side and a little more on the medial side just to balance the shoe out. I think we'd have a real winner here, but it does keep in line with what New Balance has been doing with the FuelCell model, so it doesn't deviate from their plan there. If you're used to the FuelCell models as they are, you'll be used to this one. You'll feel right at home. But for me, with a narrower shoe, a shorter shoe, you may want to check your sizing as well in this, it does feel a little off balance. And finally, durability. So while the shoe is holding up okay now with just over 60 miles, I am noticing that the outsole isn't necessarily wearing down, but it's actually collapsing. Where that plastic layer holds onto these rubber nubs, you'll see a lot of different places where maybe I've run through gravel or small rocks that are impacting into that plastic layer and collapsing them a little bit. While it hasn't affected the overall running experience, it certainly affected my opinion on whether or not the shoe is going to hold up for a longer period of time. We'll see. Otherwise, the cushion's not flattening out, the upper's holding up well. I do have durability concerns. And when you're spending $225 on a pair of shoes, you really do hope that they would hold up and hold out longer than what I'm seeing here already. Things are getting crushed up in there, but that is it for my dislikes. So in conclusion, as I mentioned, this shoe is very similar to the shoe I reviewed recently, the Saucony Endorphin Speed, in that it is a carbon plated shoe. It is a plated shoe, but it is still very comfortable. So it's not going to be one of those shoes that alienates a lot of people by just being too severe, too harsh of a ride. A lot of people's feet will love the shoe experience that they'll get out of the RC Elite here. So it's an exciting shoe for me, though $225. Let's get a bit more specific. Build quality, I've already kind of mentioned. The durability is a bit of a concern just based off the outsole. Midsole's holding up well, upper's holding up well. So overall, the materials throughout the shoe are interesting and smart choices. We'll see how they hold up beyond the 100-mile mark and even further than that. Comfort, this is where this shoe truly soars. You get the comfort of the midsole, that FuelCell is awesome. The carbon plate, plenty of snappiness for those fast race-ready days. Fit, probably the area with the most issue just because the shoe itself is fairly narrow, a little bit short, so just make sure you get your sizing right. And you'll notice here through the toe box that the toes do want to bunch up. There isn't a lot of room for toe splay and stuff like that. So fit might be the issue that most of you would have with this shoe, other than price. Speaking of price, $225. No. And finally, looks. I think they look okay. They're a little bit dated. I think, the simplicity of the bright green, the black, and the white is fine. Mix in a little blue, and it just, it's fine. It's fine. Bringing us to our final criteria is the FuelCell RC Elite. A buy, try, or a why. Solid try. You really have to have the budget. So $225, obviously a lot to spend on a shoe, especially a shoe designed to be dynamic and race ready. There's not a lot of road races happening right now, but there's certainly plenty of people setting PBs and PRs in shoes like this. So maybe that's what you're looking for, is a shoe that you can go fast in, have fun in. Is this it? So it's a solid try, and I am super curious if you get a chance to try these shoes, what you think of them. So that is it for my review of the FuelCell RC Elite. That is where I turn the question over to you. Have you run in them? Are you going to run in them? If so, what are your thoughts in the comments of this video? let us know. Otherwise, that is it, my friends. We appreciate you tuning into the reviews that we have here on the channel. And of course, subscribe, click the notification bell, do all that you need to do. Patreon there at the bottom is how you can support this channel. Help us keep the lights on, keep the mics hot, keep the reviews coming, the films coming, all that good stuff. We are doing daily live streams now. Every single day, we go live for about an hour. We talk about running, training tips, adventures, stories, all that good stuff. Patreon.com/thegingerrunner. We'd love to see you over there. That's it. I really appreciate you guys watching this video. Get out there, train as hard as you can, virtually race harder, and party the hardest. I know I am. We'll see you guys next week for more fun. Bye-bye.